Reopen the EcoHouse 1 sample file. We'll be using the same project to evaluate the Mental Ray renderer. Mental Ray is a plug-in renderer that's available in many 3D applications, including Maya. It's also available in standalone form. To get started with Mental Ray, go to the Render Scene dialog and scroll to the very bottom of the Common tab. Open up the Assign Renderer Rollout and change the Production Renderer by clicking this button. Select Mental Ray, and as soon as you do that, notice that some of the tabs have changed. Mental Ray completely replaces the scanline renderer, so many of the features are different. However, the common parameters rollout is familiar. After you do that, it's a good idea to go up to Customize, Custom UI and Default Switcher. Select one of the initial settings that uses Mental Ray, either max.mentalray or designviz.mentalray. And you can read about all of the different options that are changed in this web page. They don't take effect until you restart Max, but I already had this set. Just as with radiosity, you need to redesign the lights and materials in your scene to work with Mental Ray. Go to the Select by Name dialog and select the daylight system. Go to the Modify panel and change the sunlight to Mental Ray Sun. Change skylight to Mental Ray Sky. Now that's all we need to do for the lighting in this scene. We're illuminating the building completely with the sun and sky. Now open the Material Editor and we'll redesign the materials. Right now all the materials are standard. I'll open the Navigator to help me repurpose these materials. The paint material is very simple. It's a matte white material. Change the type and you'll open the browser. Notice that many additional materials appear in this list. They only show up if you've assigned Mental Ray as the production renderer. Of these materials, I recommend Arch and Design most highly. I'll double click on that, and we're using that material now. Much like the architectural material, Arch and Design has templates, and they're organized in a few categories. There are basic appearance, there are certain random finishes, there are transparent materials, and metals. In this case, I want to simulate white paint, so I'll choose Matte Finish. This changes the shader that's used. Notice if you select another slot and go back to the original slot, that the template doesn't seem like it's selected anymore. Don't worry, the settings are in there. They've made their changes. Now, the main material parameters rollout controls the most important components of the material, namely diffuse, reflection, and refraction. I'm going to change the diffuse color to white. That's all I need to do for this material. In the next material, you can see that it has a couple of bitmaps. These are gradient ramps that are used on the metal roof. Preserve the bitmap by dragging it out and dropping it into an unused slot. Go back to the original material and change the type to Arch and Design. This time it's a metal roof that's painted, so I'll use a pearl finish. Then I'll drag the map from this slot into the diffuse color slot right here, and I'll instance it. I'll collapse some of these rollouts and open up special purpose maps. The bump map channel is right here. Drag the same map and instance it into the bump channel. So this material is very much like it was before as a standard material, but now it's designed to work with Mental Ray. Moving on, I'll do the same kind of thing for this wooden material. I'll change the type to Arch and Design, and I'll select a template. There are two different shaders that are designed to work with wood. I'll use satin varnished wood. However, I don't like the way that the specular highlight is so pronounced. This wood is going to be used in the beams and columns in the building, and it's not meant to be so polished. I'm going to turn down the reflectivity here, and these parameters vary from 0 to 1. They can't go lower than 0 or higher than 1. So you can dial in how much reflection you want. I'll set it at 0.3, and I'll change glossiness to 0.3 as well. That smooths out the specular highlight. Then I'll drag the bitmap into the diffuse color channel and instance it there. I'll also drag the bitmap into the bump channel. Moving on, we have 3 more materials to deal with. This material is a multi-sub object. And as with radiosity, I'm not that concerned about the frame of the glass because it's very small in the rendering. So I'm going to leave these materials as standard. I am concerned, however, about the glass. Go into the panel's submaterial, change the type to Arch and Design, select a template in the transparent materials section. Now, this material is used on the window objects, and they were made using the window AEC tool, and it creates glass that has some thickness to it. So I would choose solid geometry. If your glass was paper thin, you would use this shader. You can read about it over here. I'll turn on the background so I can preview this. I'll change the color to white. However, it doesn't really look like glass yet. We have some more parameters that we need to alter. I'll scroll down into the refraction area, and right now the transparency is 0, which means that it's opaque. I'll set this at 0.8. Now it's looking transparent, but the way that the light is refracting isn't quite right. And the specular highlight is round. I'll come down here and change the anisotropy so that we create an elliptical specular highlight. And that's more suitable for glass. Down here we have the BRDF rollout, which stands for Bidirectional Reflectance Distribution Function. Don't worry about the acronym. Basically what this means is that you can customize your own shader. You can do that either by altering this graph with these parameters, and that's going to change the way that the light reflects off of the surface. For glass, it's better to use IOR, which means index of refraction. In this case, I'm just going to choose this radio button, and it's going to look more glass-like right away. Then I'll go up here and change the index of refraction to 1.52 for crown glass. So there we have it. Moving on, I have two more materials to work on. This is a simple metal material with a dark color. I'll change the type and select a metal template. I'll use brushed metal. I'll turn down the reflectivity to 0.2, and I'll turn down the glossiness to 0.4. This final material has a bitmap in the diffuse color channel and in the bump channel. I'll instance the bitmap into an unused slot, go back to the original material, change its type to Arch and Design, and this represents the floor, so I'm going to choose a template down here. Now what we have here is a matte finish ceramic tile, and we see that we have glazed ceramic tiles, and we also have concrete. I think I'd like to simulate this as rough concrete. Don't feel like you're locked into a particular shader. These are just different ways of representing the surface. I'll call it rough concrete. I'll drag in the bitmap into the diffuse color channel, and I'll turn down the reflectivity to 0.3 and the glossiness to 0.3. I'll also put the bitmap into the bump channel. So there you have it. We've really only scratched the surface of Mental Ray and its shaders, but hopefully you can use these tips to customize your materials for use with Mental Ray.